Hi, everyone, and welcome. Today, we are joined by Dr. Ranjan Dutta, a globally respected expert at the intersection of AI, analytics, and human capital. Ranjan has led transformative work at PwC, Aon, Fidelity, and now advises companies in how to navigate the future of work in the age of AI. With deep experience in workforce strategy, AI governance, and predictive analytics, he brings a rare blend of insight and practicality. Ranjan, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Glad to be here, Dilip. Thanks.
So today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic dear to my heart. So you are giving your teams Microsoft Copilot, but have you given them a playbook for what happens next? Today's conversation is about what happens when governance stops being just about the model and starts being about the people. Ranjan, you said this AI movement is fundamentally different from the past tech shifts. What do you think organizations still don't fully grasp about its impact on the workforce?
Great question, Dilip, and good one to start with. We are experiencing an AI revolution today, but it is still early stages as far as workforce transformation is concerned. We need to understand three things. Number one, AI is not going to go away. In the next few years, we will see AI models become faster, bigger, and computationally less expensive. They will also be more accurate, more seamlessly multimodal, less biased, more secure, more integrated with proprietary data assets. And I say this because the scale of advancement in AI in the last 20 years have been simply stupendous. And there is no reason for it to stall now. I'll give you an example. During my PhD days, I used to build neural network models with 1100, 1200 parameters, and it used to be computationally heavy. Now we are talking about models that have more than 1 trillion parameters. That's 5 orders of magnitude, Dilip, in 20 years.
Oh, mhm.
So it's not going to go away. That's first. Second, the biggest challenge which organizations will be facing will not be technology, data, or algorithms. It will be organizational transformation centered around the workforce, change management, and culture. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a big shift that's happening right now as we speak. So, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, like you mentioned future workforce being human and AI. So what would practically look like in a new org design or job architecture perspective? What is that sort of new form or new design look like?
Yeah, no, before I even go into that, just to continue on that previous thing a little bit further, Dilip, because I did not touch on that. Um, See, AI will fundamentally transform business models and workforce. And there will be impact both on the revenue and cost sides. On the revenue side, we will see new products, new innovations. We are not there yet, but we can expect a few blockbuster Netflix moments in the next few years. Cost side, the possibilities are somewhat clearer. AI should translate into lower labor costs, whether it is improving productivity of the workforce, like deploying custom AI assistants across all job roles and processes, or employing autonomous and semi-autonomous AI agents in the workforce itself. Future workforce will be humans and AI working hand in hand. And not this, all of these changes are going to be easy, especially when you consider implications on leadership, workforce and culture. Now coming to your current question, the workforce being both human and AI, there has always been misconceptions around technological innovation in human history. We know that people fear change and they fear unknown future. Biggest fear now, we hear this every day, that AI is going to take my job away. This may be partially true, but while some jobs will disappear, we will see new jobs evolve and take place. In fact, the way I see it, the way people work will fundamentally shift in the next few years. But to unpack this, we need to first understand how AI impacts jobs. Every job is an agglomeration of multiple activities or tasks, some daily, some weekly, some monthly, some even yearly. And some of these activities are operational, some administrative, some strategic, some creative, some executive decision making. Typically, it's a mix.
Yeah.
Imagine three nodes of a triangle: jobs, skills, and workforce. Jobs and activities are what needs to be done. Skills are what capabilities do you need to get it done. And workforce is who gets it done, right? Three nodes of a triangle. AI fundamentally changes this paradigm, you might say, the job skills workforce paradigm. We will see AI impact at the most granular activity level and move up from there. Certain activities more so than others, naturally. Workforce in the future will be both human and AI, and skills will remain cognitive, behavioral, or technical for humans, while AI workers will be simply the functionality they bring to the table. And AI workers will be of different shades, from AI assistants, which we see a lot nowadays, and supervised low-level co-workers focused on one or two tasks, to more complex autonomous agents taking independent decisions with humans only intervening when certain preset decision-making parameters are exceeded, or when AI agents proactively seek out human help. We will see AI managers managing other AI agents,
Wow, that's
interacting with both humans and agents.
yeah.
Naturally, there will be a huge impact on organizational design, job architecture, as well as strategic workforce planning when we have this nature of a job force. As new jobs evolve, one final thing I would mention in this topic: and new jobs might be a bias checker, or an AI bot supervisor, or a prompt engineer, which we are already hearing about nowadays. Or when activities within a given job role gets redefined, restructured, upskilling and reskilling of human workforce becomes extremely important, and the efficacy of those programs will have a huge impact on hiring and retaining talent. Um, Hope I answered your questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think this is a huge change that's happening. I think we are looking at complete autonomous AI plus hybrid model where there's human in the loop. I think the ideal model is hybrid model when there is regulatory requirements needs to be satisfied. But definitely when we are building AI governance as a platform. So when we talk to customers, we keep hearing the risk, the security struggle there, and a lot of concerns about shadow AI. They don't have the full visibility about what the AI use case is currently in play in the company. So they are trying to understand this better, and this is kind of where we come in. We solving the AI governance problem. But one of the key challenges when we talk to IT or business is kind of who should own AI governance in the company. Is it going to be the tech guys or data science, or is it going to be compliance or people team? And what happens if nobody owns it? So yeah, that.
Great question. And I think AI governance is central to any initiative involving AI within an organization, large, medium, or small. And you already talked about AI risks. Let me share my point of view around the why. There are five central risks of AI as I see it, and each needs to be managed and governed actively using a very standardized framework that is scalable across multiple AI deployments in the organization. Let me elaborate these 5 risks. Number one, safeguarding proprietary data assets within the organization without infringing on the IP of others. Um, we know what goes into the foundational models is many times unknown, right? So we need to be really very careful about this safeguarding proprietary data assets. Second, um, we need to overcome prediction bias. Many times the AI models are built on flawed training data sets. Foundational models are likely to have hidden biases. Even proprietary data assets, when you add to the foundational models, can add more biases. So you need to safeguard for this bias. Third, we need to find a way to maintain privacy of sensitive user information.
Yeah.
Again, we don't know what went in. And we don't want somebody's sensitive information to be part of an organizational workflow visible to everyone.
Yeah.
Fourth, this is a known problem, accuracy of AI predictions. At the end of the day, we know about hallucinations, but there are other accuracy problems with machine learning models. Ultimately, they are prediction engines, right? So they are not 100% accurate, and they will never be. Fifth, and which I say will be very difficult to do anything about it, is prediction explainability. Machine learning models, and I have come to say from experience, with many hidden layers, typically tend to overfit. What it means is their predictions might be more accurate than statistical models, but they cannot be always easily explained. This last, the explainability problem actually exacerbates both the second and the third risks, the bias and the privacy. Because how neural network models arrive at predictions, even simple ones with 1-2 hidden layers, is complex and difficult to comprehend. So that said,
Yeah.
I must say this, these risks are nothing new in the machine learning world. We are talking about AI today more in the last 3-4 years because AI has been democratized
Yes.
and going to be in the hand of laymen rather than people who are trained in machine learning. And that, Dilip, makes governance of AI extremely, extremely critical.
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the challenges that we also see, the silos, and traditionally how the business units has been operating, and then the IT and the decision making. You have a strong HR and technology background. You deployed human resource technologies in a very highly scalable model. How do you see the HR and risk and tech, all these functions actually can come together and collaborate? Because this is a very critical function. So having an ownership, but having clear accountability and segregation or separation of duty is so critical here. How should they communicate this?
No, very good question. And it follows up from your previous one, where AI governance happen within the organization depends on how these functions and the organization actually evolve. I feel that AI is a great opportunity for most of the support functions to evolve and break these silos naturally. In fact, many support functions which we see are at the risk of being redundant if they do not evolve in the next few years. I know about HR, so I can tell you about HR.
Yeah.
80 to 85% of HR activities are operational or transactional in nature. Supporting tasks like, say, implementing leadership programs, benefits counseling, disseminating policy information, or they are administrative tasks like scheduling interviews or payroll tax processing or employee customer service. And I can go on and on.
Yeah.
More
I,
operational the activities are, more likely we are going to see AI doing these activities in the future. In other words, these activities will not disappear, but they
yes.
are going to be there are not going to be any humans in the chain in those activities. I expect the next generation HR function to be lean, focused on innovation and business strategy, with perhaps even managed operations with AI vendors. And the same, I feel, is true for support functions like finance, IT, procurement. So silos should naturally collapse, Dilip, making it easier for each function to collaborate with each other
Yes.
more effectively in the future.
Yeah, I think this requires a huge culture shift. And, I always feel that culture should be a top-down approach in the initial stages. And sort of leadership should drive that shift to create comfort amongst the workers or the staff that there's nothing to fear. So, and how do you kind of create how do you sort of elevate that fear factor? And where that the workforce currently have. I mean, the change is happening for sure. It is real time. We're seeing there's a lot of job shift happening. Traditional jobs are shifting, and this new shift is happening. How do you kind of address that fear factor? Because if the fear factor is there, then that culture shift or the new workforce transformation can happen. How do you kind of handle this? This is a very delicate sort of balance, I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the challenge is to move from AI fear to AI fluency. And I think most organizations need that. One thing I should say, I mean, AI is typically being led by tech functions across the board at this point, right? And I would warn against them, against that. Irrespective of whether it's a revenue or a cost side AI use case, it should not be looked upon as a tech initiative within an organization. While implementation itself can be led by the tech function, the business case can be from anywhere within the organization. So every leader, every function needs to build an AI understanding and then attempt to apply it within their domain. And it need not be limited to leaders alone, it should be the entire workforce. Uh, when we talk about AI fear and AI fluency, I think the leaders should look at AI both from an opportunity and a risk angle. It's an opportunity where AI can democratize access to sophisticated business services at a low price and at scale. In fact, a small team can create disproportionate revenue or cost advantages with AI. Many organizations are already thinking on those lines. Can we use AI to leapfrog our competitors? It's also a risk. AI is also a risk because it can be a threat to your existing business models, both revenue and cost side, especially if organizations are slow to act or to adopt. Um, Leaders should actually think, can we afford to take a wait and see approach with regards to AI? Remember, being slow to act can be particularly damaging to small and mid-sized organizations that do not have large in-house functions to address AI questions or have access to expensive technology or consulting firms. There are typically 10, 12 questions, Dilip, that every business leader should be asking themselves.
Yeah.
Questions like, how do we get started? What are our use cases? How do we prioritize between our use cases? Do we build, buy, or borrow AI? How do we drive adoption? How do we manage risks? Of course, the first step of having a better understanding of AI is what it can offer to the organization given its business model. That's why general AI upskilling is needed for both leaders and workforce. You can call it, we have used this term many times already. You can call it democratization of AI within an organizational context.
Yeah.
Ideal scenario, AI fear gets converted into AI fluency, and fluency leads to AI innovation.
Wow,
I'll
that's
stop at that.
yeah. I think you talked about upskilling. So that's a very interesting topic because and acting on steps. That's one of the things that leaders can do that creates tangible steps that the workforce can see this is happening. And they're part of the process. I think reskilling is one of those things where they're part of that transition. So what is that effective reskilling look like from your perspective? There are different functions, and how do you kind of pick and choose, or do you create a generalized approach, or is it a very specialized? I mean, what should be the strategy for reskilling?
No, great question. And I think reskilling and upskilling is at the heart of any AI transformation. Um, I touched upon this briefly before. Reskilling the workforce is a natural byproduct of AI in workforce. When new jobs are created, um, obviously it calls for upskilling and reskilling of your workforce. For old jobs, while some will disappear, others will need to be redefined, creating new opportunities to reskill or upskill existing workforce. Every organization, when they think about their current existing workforce and then they think about their future workforce, which is both humans and AI, will need to revisit their job architecture, need to really think through what are the different areas they need to be, an existing workforce need to be skilled on and need to be trained upon. I can give you, you are working in the space of AI governance. AI governance is one area where I believe new roles will emerge. It goes back to what we touched upon. I don't see AI governance to be the domain of either technology or HR or risk function, since it has got elements of each within it. Uh, I see an evolved HR function being responsible for AI governance, but maybe it will not be called HR anymore because we are not just talking about human resources. We are also talking about a combined workforce with both AI and human. Um, and traditional HR skill sets, especially those focused on more transactional, operational activities, will be less useful in a reshaped HR functions. Similar arguments for any of the other functions like technology or risk or core operations of a given organization. Wherever we land, Dilip, upskilling and reskilling needs to be fundamental. And it is fundamental to AI governance as well. And it will not be just one time, but continuous learning, since AI technology will continue to evolve. We know that. And organizations themselves will mature as they integrate AI into their workflows and business processes.
Yeah. So like if I want to take some tangible, practical like steps tomorrow, I'm leading my risk or tech function, and I want to take the first one, two, three baby steps. What would be those first two, three steps from your perspective?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I can definitely reflect on that from an HR point of view, Dilip. I will not venture too much into the risk function. I've not been doing, but let me touch the HR function and why this is important. And to understand, we need to also understand how HR function has progressed over the years. Uh, I feel that that HR is in a cusp of big change right now, and again, the name itself might actually change, should change. Traditionally, HR functions were policy oriented, more into compliance than anything else. HR technology, HRIS systems catapulted most organizations from a compliance mindset to a more process centric mindset. More recently, we have seen HR functions move from that process mindset to a more employee well-being centric approach. The next stage of evolution is coming. I feel AI should evolve the HR function itself into a lean, more strategy, innovation focused function, not operational anymore. And that's why progressive HR leaders need to champion AI transformation and lead it from the front with their IT, technology, and business counterparts. Success of AI in an organizational setting is ultimately a human capital challenge. We need human capital expertise, um, and it is imprinted all over AI transformation, from change leadership and driving innovation to managing AI risks and establishing governance frameworks to strategic workforce planning, upskilling and reskilling of your workforce, and job architecture.
Yeah. Do you have a new name for what it should be called in the future?
I don't want to venture into that. I mean, we call the chief human resources officer. Maybe we need to add an A within that,
Yeah.
CHR terminology. But again, I think the new name will evolve also, and it will
Would
come.
it have an AI in it? That's my question.
Yeah. I mean, very much so. The world is
Okay,
changing,
okay.
and yeah,
About just on the AI governance, shifting gears. So on the AI
yeah.
governance side, what is the kind of the one red flag that you can see if someone is performing AI governance instead of sort of leaving it?
Yeah, now this is more your domain than mine, Dilip, though I advise organizations around governance. One thing I can say, AI governance is when AI governance is a afterthought rather than a planned process, it's a red flag in my view. AI governance should be thought through even before any AI deployment is started, pilot or otherwise. And it is not once and done approach. There should be a continuous learning loop here. But given what you do, Dilip, I would really love to hear your views on how to spot a pitfall or a
I
red
think
flag.
I will agree with that because it's definitely it is being perceived as a very technical thing compared to so which means that you are not thinking holistically about governance as per company because this is not about technology alone. It's also about people process and the new workforce. So it's a mix of that. I think the regulators are only looking at one side of the puzzle, which is very okay, process driven, check tick box driven. These are the things you must do. But it does require a change in the culture. So you need a different thinking process. So I think this is one of those compliance domains. You cannot just think it as a tick box driven exercise. It has to be thought through as because this is a huge human capital shift happening. It's not that just the tick box exercise. So yeah. Completely agree with that. I think one of the things, as you said, HR is about policy and processes. So, if if you can change just one workforce policy to reflect on that new era, what would be that?
Yeah, I'll be brief here. I think many policies will be changed in the next few years. I think the workforce policy concept itself needs to be revisited since the workforce will not be humans anymore. So I would say this is an open book. This would be something that every organization need to visit, and I'll keep it at that. I think the new playbook is now
The new
required.
playbook has to be looking after agents, putting frameworks or processes for agents. That's kind of how it has to be. Because
Correct,
there has to be
correct,
rule book for agents as well. They can't run around
correct.
and do whatever, right? There has to be some human in the loop. But so for sure.
I mean,
And just the
it's a
last,
revolution which is happening, and you need to really be planned around that, right? And so, what worked in the past will not work anymore.
yes.
And so, yeah,
I think
I mean,
just the final thought, like from an accountability standpoint, if as the leaders are shifting to embrace this new platform on AI and the new workforce and strategies around it, how do you build true accountable AI organizations? What should be that final sort of thought there?
no, I'll keep it simple. This is the revolution happening with huge implications across the board, across the organization's business model, workforce, culture. One of the things I would say that every leader should have is having the flexibility to accept change and be ready to act on it. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point there. Yeah, look, Ranjan, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your practical experiences. I know you also provide a lot of advice to HR function and leaders on this transformation. So would continue to talk more on this topic as you what you are seeing in the industry, what patterns that you're seeing, what challenges that you're seeing. So we'd love to continue this conversation at some point as well.
Absolutely, Dilip. And I think what you are doing and your organization is trying to do in the governance space is absolutely critical. And I think if organizations ignore that, they will be at a loss at the end of the day.
Thank you so much, Ranjan.
Thanks. Take care.